Hello and welcome to the Comeback Mechanics February 2025 Gym Leader Challenge Tournament. My name is Cody Hope, casting for you this first round match between Mark Zamora with his Glaceon water deck and playing with fire, freshly squeezed Maverick Atterbury. The Comeback Mechanics are a competitive team based in Dallas, Texas, and this matchup is from our monthly GLC tournament. And we got some huge news for you this month. We have now partnered with Lone Star Pack Breaks in Carrollton, Texas, who have very generously provided prizing for this event. Everybody, please send some love to Lone Star Pack Breaks.
Join Lone Star Pack Breaks live on Twitch Wednesday through Friday nights to rip into the latest Pokemon sets in English and Japanese, plus One Piece, Weiss, Union Arena, Final Fantasy, and more. LSPB ships anywhere in the U.S., or if you're local, choose in-store pickup at their shop in Carrollton, Texas. Pickup orders are usually ready 1 to 2 days after a stream. Plus, if you're a Pokemon player, don't miss their standard tournaments every Wednesday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Check out the links below to get in on the action.
Big thanks again to Lone Star Pack Breaks for sponsoring the team. As you can tell from the thumbnail this month, it is Oops All EEVEES. We have allowed a special house rule for this month to celebrate the release of Prismatic Evolutions. All players are allowed to play one Eevee in their deck so that they can play the corresponding evolution for their type. And both decks from this round 1 feature match feature an evolution. Getting to the game here, Maverick has started us off, and he has opened on the Volcanion. A very great start if he was going second. Mark is on the left, and he is opened on the Remoraid. Maverick is deciding to start on the Level Ball, and he is invoking our Matty Map house rule, where the first time you search your deck, you can take a look at your prizes. If you're new here, the reason why we do that is because in a 60-card singleton format, checking your prizes can be quite time intensive. And so in the effort to increase pace of play, rather than spending 5 minutes figuring out what your 6 prizes are, it's a lot quicker to just take a look at those prizes, shuffle them, put them back face down. We see that Maverick is playing a fire deck built around the new Skeledirge from Surging Sparks. The Skeledirge has the ability Unaware, prevents all effects of attacks done to it, and then it has the Torcherto attack, which does 60 plus 20 for each benched Pokemon. And if you can slap a Luxurious Cape on it, it kind of becomes a DIY Palkia V-Star. And we do see that that is what he's going for, getting the Fuecoco off the level ball. He then plays his Suian Heavy Ball to get the Sandalette, which evolves into the Salazzle. And the Salazzle has an ability where once per turn you can discard a fire energy to draw 3. He's attached to the Volcanion and passing it back over to Mark. Mark is starting off with the Capacious Bucket, allowing him to search for 2 water energies from his deck. And then he is going to use his Matty Map V-Star marker as well. And taking a look at the prizes, ooh, it is a little rough. We do see that both the Rare Candy as well as the Octillery is prized. The Octillery especially heinous due to the fact that the Remoraid is in the active. We do see Maverick kind of dusting off his good luck charm, the Persian, which is a great time for me to mention that Maverick has the most wonderful cat in the whole world, Wally. Maverick, why don't you put up a picture of your cat on screen? I love Wally so much. Anyway, back to the game. We see that Mark has gotten the 2 water energies off of the Capacious Bucket, and he is going to bench his Eevee. The Eevee that Mark has decided to play for this tournament is the Energy Evolution Eevee. So when you attach a basic energy to it, you can search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from Eevee that is the same type as the energy you attached. So in this case, Mark gets to search his deck for the Glaceon. Mark has kind of built his deck around this Glaceon. This Glaceon has the Hypnotic Blizzard attack for 3 energy. It does 90 damage, puts the active Pokemon to sleep, and does 20 damage to each of the opponent's benched Pokemon. We see that Mark has decided to lean into this ability just a little bit as he is playing the Slumbering Forest Stadium card. This stadium makes it where if the active Pokemon is asleep, you have to flip 2 coins instead of 1, and both of them have to be heads for the Pokemon to wake up. So Mark is definitely trying to put the opponent's Pokemon to sleep and just deal a bunch of damage both to the active as well as to the bench. And we see that he's going to play the Ultra Ball, discarding the Baxcalibur as well as a Water Energy. Normally that would be a little scary here, getting rid of the Baxcalibur, as this is a Rain Dance build of water. But we do know that Mark is also playing the Frost Moth. The Frost Moth kind of has the Rain Dance ability, but it can only be done to the benched Pokemon. However, it is a stage 1, so it's a lot easier to set up as well. We see that off the Ultra Ball, Mark is going to get the Sobble. This is, of course, the Inteleon line, so prevalent in Standard for such a long period of time. And then we see the Colress's Tenacity, allowing Mark to search for a Stadium as well as a energy card. Can be any energy. We do see he's going to get that Slumbering Forest, and he's going to get the Splash Energy. The Splash Energy has the ability where if the Pokemon that it is attached to is knocked out, you get to put that Pokemon back into your hand. So really helps recycle some of these Pokemon. We see that we're going to see the Super Rod, just going to put that Water Energy back into the deck. Going to give that deck a shuffle here. And the hard part is that I don't think we're going to be doing any attacking this turn. We've already attached to the Eevee. I suppose if we have a pivot option in our hand, we could go for the Snow Cloak attack for 30 damage. And your opponent will have to flip a coin. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to the Glaceon. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, so we're throwing it back over to Maverick. Maverick plays the Kofu. The Kofu is a new addition to the Fire deck here as well. The Kofu says you can put 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and if you did, you get to draw 4 cards. Doesn't seem super strong. It is only a +1, right? You use 3 cards to get 4, but it helps put certain cards back into your deck if you don't want them into your hand. And with the Salazzle, Maverick is going to be getting a rather large hand size. And so most of the cards like In or INO or even Professor's Research mess with the cards you already have in your hand. Maverick is definitely trying to build a large hand size, which is why we are on the Kofu. And we see that we found the Evolution Incense, which is then going to grab that Salazzle. We do see that we are using that Salazzle to draw 3. Maverick is also a big fan of Golden Go, as is Mark. That is their standard deck of choice. And Maverick's using his super cool custom Golden Go effect-used markers. Maverick is playing an Eeveelution himself. He is playing the Flareon. The Flareon isn't as much of a build around as the Glaceon is, but it does have that very powerful Kindle attack, which does 120 damage, but you do discard an energy from it, and if you do, you also get to discard an energy from the opponent's active. So normally that Flareon should be taking a knockout, but in the event that it doesn't, you do get to disrupt your opponent just a little bit there. We see that Maverick is going to use TM Evolution to put 2 energy on that Fuecoco, and then it's going to go back over to Mark. Now, notably, 2 energy is the energy requirement of that Torcherto attack on the Skeledirge. Back over on Mark's side of the field, really thinking about what we're going to play here. We're going to see an attach to the Remoraid. Could be doing that to retreat. And that is exactly what we are going to do. We're going to retreat up into the Glaceon. And then, yep, we are going to use that Snow Cloak attack for 30. And we did flip a heads. So during Maverick's next turn, no effects of attacks can be used on the Glaceon. And that does include damage here. And unfortunately for Maverick, that Volcanion is weak to water, so it's going to be a big 60 damage, not a big 30. If that happens again, this Volcanion is getting knocked out. We see the Pokegear 3.0 being used here, allowing Maverick to look at the top 7 cards of his deck and put a supporter card into his hand. And there's nothing for him there, just going to shuffle up his deck. And fun fact for you here, there is no Pokegear 2.0. We skipped straight to 3. We see the Giant Hearth being played here. The Giant Hearth allows Maverick to discard a card, and if he does, gets to search his deck for 2 fire energy. We do see that he is discarding the Blacksmith, which is very, very interesting. Now, Blacksmith isn't doing a whole lot with the current setup of the board, but that is just such a powerful supporter card. I wonder what the rest of Maverick's hand looks like. Got to be stacked. And this is a good use case for the Kofu here, right? In the event that Maverick had too much fire energy in his hand, he could put that 2 fire on the bottom and then use the Giant Hearth just to get it back. I bring it up because when I first saw the Kofu, I wasn't sold on it, but after doing a little more looking into it, seems very, very, very powerful. We see Maverick here is going to bench the Entei. Love this Entei. Has the attack where it takes 20 less damage from attacks as long as it's in the active spot, and it kind of has that Hydro Pump-esque attack where it does 60 plus 20 for each fire energy attached to it. We do see that Maverick is going to play the Arvin to take some cards Arv out of the deck. We see he's going to get the Float Stone as well as Rare Candy, so he's bang going up into that Skeledirge. And right now, the Skeledirge is doing 60 and then an extra 100 because there is 5 benched Pokemon, so a giant 160 damage. Unfortunately for Maverick, though, the Glaceon cannot be damaged this turn because Mark flipped heads off of the Glaceon. So even though Maverick got his whole board set up, he is going to kind of have to sit there and wait for his next turn to be able to do some damage here. Seems, I think... Nope. Okay, just shuffling up our deck here. And we are going to pass here. Are going to pass. Back over on Mark's side of the board here. Things are going well. He is going to be able to knock out that Volcanion this turn. We see that the Rough Seas is going to be put into play, allowing Mark to heal 30 damage from each of his water Pokemon each turn. And if any player manages to get an electric Pokemon in play, could do that as well. But we are just going to see the attach of that Splash Energy. We're going to knock out the Volcanion. We did indeed flip heads. So once again, Maverick is going to be unable to take a knockout unless he can find a Guzma or something similar. Back over to Maverick. He is using that Salazzle to draw 3 more cards. Hopefully trying to find something like an Escape Rope or a Guzma or something similar to just help move some Pokemon around here. Otherwise, it's just probably going to be another pass from Maverick here. Not great. Okay, we do get to bump the Rough Seas for the Magma Basin. Magma Basin is a great piece of energy acceleration for the fire deck. Once per turn, you can attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your benched fire Pokemon. And if you do, you put 20 damage on it. So, really good synergy with the Salazzle here. Get rid of the fire energy, accelerate it back into play. Unfortunately for Maverick here, he doesn't really have any good benched fire Pokemon to put that energy on. The Skeledirge is all set up, and you're not really attacking with the Salazzle. I guess you could put an energy on it just so you can retreat it a little later in the game. And we're going to see the Lusamine as Maverick supporter for turn. Going to get the Arvin as well as the Blacksmith. So it makes a little more sense why we discarded it to the Giant Hearth a little bit earlier. And just going to be a pass. So Mark has been able to kind of take an early lead here, but as soon as that Snow Cloak kind of gets a Tails or he decides to use the Hypnotic Blizzard attack, that is going to open up a lot of avenues for Maverick to get back into the game here. We see Mark play the Irida. I love these like type-specific supporter cards. They are some of my favorite cards in the game, and so I love that in GLC, everybody kind of gets a fun supporter. The Irida is going to allow Mark to search his deck for a water Pokemon as well as an item. Now, we'd see in standard format, we would be getting Rare Candy and Baxcalibur to set up the Rain Dance, or back in the day, maybe even Rare Candy plus the Inteleon to go into the Sobble. But we do know Rare Candy is prized this game, but we are going to see him search up the Drizzile, so this Irida kind of lets him just search for 2 items instead of 1 here. Really thinking about what item we want. We could see something like a Buddy Buddy Poffin. That one would make sense to me. Just kind of get more of the support Pokemon out. We could get the Snom, which evolves into the Frostmoth, which has that Rain Dance-esque ability. Could also see maybe the Staryu, which evolves into the Starmie. And nope, we're just going to see the Professor's Letter. Professor's Letter is going to allow Mark to search his deck for 2 water energy, or 2 basic energy, which is going to be that water energy. So very, very nice with this Rain Dance strategy, getting both the Capacious Bucket and the Professor's Letter. Then we're going to see the Dive Ball. Once again, I am just such a big fan of these really interesting type-specific cards. So the Dive Ball allows Mark to search his deck for any water Pokemon and put it into his hand. That can even be an evolution as well. Sitting here, we definitely are going... Oh, we got the Dive Ball off of the Drizzile. We're not using it just yet. Understood. So sitting here thinking about what we're going to do here. Attacking with the Glaceon just kind of seems fine, right? That Snow Cloak attack might just allow Mark to kind of run away with this game. But it looks like we're attaching the water energy, which means we could be going for that Hypnotic Blizzard attack. We do know that Mark has the Slumbering Forest in his hand. So could throw down that Slumbering Forest, which is exactly what we're going to do here. So that Entei is going to be asleep, and Maverick is going to need to flip 2 heads if he wants that Entei to wake up. Also very unfortunate for Maverick here. The Entei is weak to water, so we are going to be doing a massive 180 damage, but 160 because of the Entei's ability. And yeah, not great for Maverick here. He does get to push up the Skeledirge here, and finally, the Glaceon is able to be damaged with attacks, so the Skeledirge will be able to use its Torcerto attack. Right now, it is only doing 120 because there's 3 benched Pokemon, but if Maverick is able to fill up his bench, we could be seeing a knockout this turn. He's going to play the Ultra Ball, and we love a free discard here, getting rid of the Battle VIP Pass, as well as the Macargo. Maverick is using the laziest proxy I've ever seen in my whole life. Before the tournament started, Maverick said he pulled a winning fire list from Full Grip Games and decided to replace the Macargo with the Flareon. And I looked at him and I went, you have to be out of your mind. The Macargo is one of the best cards in Fire. You need to replace something else. And thankfully, he did listen to me, but he did not have those cards on him, so he had to proxy him up real fast. And so, Maverick, why don't you edit the Macargo on top of that proxy? I don't think I'll want to see it. I'm just kidding. But we see the Fire Crystal is going to come down here, getting 3 fire energy back into Maverick's hand, and that Ultra Ball grabbed the Charmander. We are on the Charizard that doubles the fire energy that is in play. We're going to bench the Chi-Yu. The Chi-Yu is a great recent addition to the fire deck. It has that revenge type attack, which does extra damage if you had a Pokemon knocked out on the last turn. Mega Fire of Envy, I'm sorry, how could I forget? Does 140 if the opponent took a knockout on the last turn. Very, very good card here. We see that Maverick has increased the number of bench Pokemon. There are now 5 total benched Pokemon, meaning that the Skeledirge is going to do 160, is going to be enough to knock out this Glaceon. And with the Blacksmith, Maverick is going to be able to put 2 energy onto that Chi-Yu. So in the event that Mark is able to get a return knockout on the Skeledirge, the Chi-Yu is probably going to walk up there and take a big knockout itself. We do see that Maverick has the Charizard in his hand. I don't know if he has Rare Candy or Charmeleon, but seems to be a great place to be in. Now, because of that splash energy, though, Mark does get to put the Glaceon and the Eevee back into his hand. We're going to see he benches the Eevee as well as the Frigibrax, which of course evolves into that Excalibur. Do not know what the prize card Mark took is. If it is the Rare Candy, he might be able to evolve into a Excalibur very, very soon. We see the Versus Seeker is going to get back that Irida, and so Mark is going to once again search his deck for a Inteleon as well as any item card. And we're going to see it's that Buddy Poffin here. So we're going to play the Buddy Poffin, allowing us to get 2 basic Pokemon out of our deck here. I do imagine we'll probably see the Snom. The Snom makes the most sense to me. And yep, that is exactly what we're going to grab. And there are some other options here. There is the Staryu. There is also the Vulpix. Although I don't know if the Vulpix will be grabbed here because it is a little late for that beacon attack, and Mark is not running the Ninetales. We are going to see that it is just the Manaphy here protecting from bench damage. Don't know how much bench damage Maverick is going to be doing, but better safe than sorry. Although I will say Mark does need to knock out this Skeledirge, because right now this Skeledirge is doing an additional 160 damage, so it is dealing 220. That is enough to knock out pretty much anything on Mark's board. Again, we're going to attach to the Eevee here. Do not get to use that evolution ability, though, which is fine, because we do know the Glaceon is just in the hand. And we're going to see the Ordinary Rod. We're going to shuffle 2 water energy back into the deck here, choosing not to shuffle any Pokemon back into the deck. Although I don't think we have any... No, we have the Excalibur in the discard pile. So choosing to leave that there, that to me kind of signals that there is another way to get that Pokemon back here. Maybe something like a Nessa could be in the future. And by putting the Remoraid up in the active, we do know that that Octillery is sitting over in the prizes. Looks like we haven't got it yet, so we're fine having the Remoraid get knocked out on this next turn. Mark is going to bump that Forest for the Artisan. Very gorgeous Artisan as well, so Maverick is going to search his deck for a basic Pokemon. And it looks like Maverick's going for his own Eevee. Maverick has chosen to play the boosted evolution Eevee from Surging Sparks. So if it is in the active spot, Maverick can evolve it the turn it is put into play. We are going to see the Salazzle drawing 3 more cards. And we are going to see the Evo Soda. So it looks like we're going to be going into that Charmeleon. And we do know that Maverick has the Charizard in his hand. I really love Maverick's choice of Charmeleon here. We have done the 90 HP Heat Tackle Charmeleon, which notably can be grabbed off of the Level Ball. And hits for 70. Sometimes it can just take a knockout itself. So next turn, Maverick will have access to that Charizard. The Charizard does have the Burn Brightly ability, which doubles all fire energy in play. Oh, but we do see that Maverick is going to go for the boss's orders here, and he's going to knock out that Drizzile. He definitely does not want Mark to have access to the Inteleon. That is the Shady Dealings Inteleon, which would allow Mark to search his deck for 2 item card or for 2 trainer cards. So definitely did not want that to happen. So choosing to knock that out. He could have gone after the Eevee here as well. That would have been another fine choice. We can definitely tell that the Glaceon is the Pokemon that Mark is looking to set up. But, you know, he might have been relying on the Drizzile to try to find some key supporters here. Or some key cards to make that happen, right? We do see that Mark is going to promote the Manaphy. So it's looking like he might just be kind of feeding another Pokemon to Maverick for a knockout. And we have seen this Evolution Incense come down. So definitely seemed like a wise choice by Maverick to knock out that Inteleon because it would have been coming down on the next turn. The Pokemon God off of the Evolution Incense is going to be that Frostmoth. And again, that Frostmoth kind of has that Rain Dance ability, but it is only to benched Pokemon. But it has the benefit of being a Stage 1 rather than a Stage 2. The Glaceon will come down here, and then we're going to see an attach to the Manaphy, and we could see that Rain Splash attack, which will do 20 damage, doubled to 40. But nope, we are just going to go into the Glaceon, and it's looking like we are going to be relying on that Snow Cloak attack once again, hoping to hit heads. And we do! Unbelievable! So, once again, on Maverick's next turn, no damage, no effects will be done to this Glaceon. So, wow. Even though it did not look like a great spot, well, unless Maverick can find his Guzma or can find some way to get that boss's orders back into his hand, nothing's going to be done this turn. We do see Maverick's going to go into the Charizard, and then we're going to Salazzle for 3. The Charizard, this isn't really a Charizard build of fire. We don't see a ton of Pokemon that really care about that. The only 2 really being the Entei as well as the Volcanion. Those are 2 that kind of care about the amount of fire, so being able to double that is really, really nice. But it does kind of provide synergy, making it where you only need 1 energy to attach to your Chi-Yu or 1 energy to your Skeledirge if the Charizard is in play. Plus, it is worth noting, can attack with the Charizard itself. It does do 170, but you gotta discard all fire energy from it. But if you're only discarding 2 instead of 4, that's kind of okay. Maverick has evolved into the Flareon here, and we do see the Guzma. The Guzma is coming down. Maverick is got to pick which Pokemon he wants to knock out here, and it's looking like it's going to be the Frostmoth. That makes a lot of sense to me. So getting rid of that Rain Dance ability, so the Glaceon will not be able to use Hypnotic Blizzard on the next turn, nor will Mark be able to set up any of his other attackers here. So very, very nice for Maverick here. Going back over to Mark. Putting the Glaceon back up. Once again, probably going to be relying on that Snow Cloak to buy us some time. And I've been really impressed with how much work this Glaceon has been putting in. this match definitely shows off kind of how nice the EVs could be if we had access to them. So really excited that we get to show that off here. We are going to see the level ball. And we are kind of running out of targets here for the level ball. I think the Archibax is probably one of the only ones left. Okay, going to go for that Staryu. That Staryu has the smack attack for 20, but I think it is being played because it is a free pivot, if I was to make a guess here. We see the dive ball is going to get the Archibax here. And we do know that Baxcalibur is chilling in the discard pile. So again, probably seems like Nessa is going to be the way that we get that back. We are not playing any stretcher card. Or no, we have the rescue stretcher. So we have ways to get that back. And then once again, we're just going to see a Snow Cloak for 60. And I think the coin flip is a Tails there, I see. So Maverick should be able to deal damage to this Glaceon this turn. And then this Skeledirge is putting in a ton of work. Doesn't even have the Lux Cape on it, but this kind of DIY Palkia V-Star putting in a ton of work here. So that feels really, really good. Oh, and notably, even if Mark was able to get the extra energy onto the Glaceon for that Hypnotic Blizzard, the unaware ability of Skeledirge would prevent it from falling asleep. So that feels really, really, really good. So I see we got the Versus Seeker for the Guzma here, which is going to allow him to pull up that Archibax. We see that Maverick is going to go back into the Chi-Yu, then kind of do this little dance of retreating back into the Skeledirge. We see Super Rod coming down here. The very nice League promo Super Rod. Very nice. And Maverick's going to shuffle 3 Fire Energy back into his deck. Just kind of giving him more access to fire in the late game, as he has kind of been using the Chi-Yu as a little bit of a pivot here. But no, we're just going to see the Professor's Letter, allowing Maverick to get both those Fire Energy back into his hand. So Maverick should be able to kind of guarantee that he has enough attackers for the rest of the game here. He is at 3 prizes, going to be going down to 2 this turn. And with that Charizard, Chi-Yu can attack for 1 Fire Energy. The Flareon will only need 2. So Maverick is looking sitting pretty here for the rest of the game, it looks like. And bang, another big knockout. 2 prizes for Maverick, 4 prizes for Mark. And it is not over yet, though. The Snow Cloak attack can buy Mark a ton of time here, especially because he is hitting for weakness. So there is a world where he is able to kind of take some knockouts on some of these benched Pokemon that have a lot less HP. But unfortunately for Mark, he hasn't really been able to set up his engine. Not having the access to the Octillery this game has been proven to be a little bit of a detriment, because Mark is only sitting with a couple cards in his hand, and he just only can really just attach an energy and attack. But good news is the Snow Cloak is going to knock out the Skeledirge, but unfortunately we do flip Tails here. So Maverick will be able to take a knockout with this Chi-Yu. We see Maverick is attaching the second Fire Energy to the Chi-Yu. So going to use that revenge-based attack here to get the knockout. Back over on Mark's side here, we see that N is going to be played here. Shuffling the hand into the deck, and we do see how large Maverick's hand was. I think he only had about 2 cards in deck, so this deck that he is shuffling is pretty much his old hand. And putting him to 1 card here is going to be good. This could be what Mark needs to swing the game around. Maverick doesn't have any attacker setup other than the Chi-Yu, and even if Mark passes here by trying to set up another Pokemon, that Mega Fire of Envy will only do 50, which is not enough to knock out anything on... Well, no, it is enough to knock out the Staryu, right? Yeah, Staryu only has 40, so... But we have seen Lusamine and Versus Seeker out of Maverick already, so I don't think we're going to be able to boss up this Staryu. So Maverick doesn't currently have a way to take a knockout. Charizard's going to need 2 energy, the Flareon's going to need 2 energy, and then the Chi-Yu will not be able to take a knockout. So we see Maverick getting punished just a little bit by attaching the second Fire Energy to Chi-Yu. Charizard makes it where he didn't need to. Putting that second Fire Energy on there, probably for a retreat, is what I would imagine, right? So if Mark doesn't take a knockout here, Maverick can retreat, go up into another Pokemon. But no, it just looks like Mark is going to scoop it up here. He says, no way for me to get out of it. I just didn't find anything. But we did see that Maverick only had the call bell in his hand. But I would kind of agree here with the prize deficit just so big. There's no way that Mark is probably taking 4 prize cards before Maverick finds out a way to take 1. Didn't get to see the Flareon that game, but that's okay. We did get to see that Glaceon putting in a ton of work, so really awesome getting to show off the EEVEES this game. But that will do it for today's feature match. Don't forget to tune in next week. We will bring you our round 2 feature match. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. What is your favorite evolution that you would like to be able to play in Gym Leader Challenge? And you can, of course, always follow us on our social media, x.com as well as Blue Sky. And with that, my name is going to be Cody Hope, signing out.